Hello, everybody. I'm back. I'm sorry that I was away for a year. I promise I'll never leave you again. And by promise, I mean I'll try. So today I thought I'd try to bring it back to some basics and talk about why it is that there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin minted or mined. So you've probably heard this before, the idea that there is only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin mined, and that's the maximum amount of Bitcoin that there will ever be. And this is used as an argument to say that, hey, Bitcoin will never lose any of its value because the supply will never be arbitrarily inflated, thus diminishing the value of Bitcoin in the way that, say, the US dollar might be inflated by the Federal Reserve or whatever it is. And that is true as it stands. There's no central authority out there that can just decide, hey, we're going to have an extra 21 million Bitcoin created. And so I found myself asking myself, where does this limit come from? How is it enforced? How does it work? Why 21? So I did some research, and here we are making this video. So as you may or may not know, new Bitcoins are minted through the process of Bitcoin mining. When a Bitcoin miner discovers a valid Bitcoin block, they are rewarded for their effort with some newly minted Bitcoins, and this is called the block reward. So the Bitcoin protocol is designed such that a new block is mined every roughly 10 minutes, which is about 56,500 per year, which is about 210,000 every 4 years. 210,240 to be exact. So every 210,240 blocks, what happens is that the block reward is cut in half. So for this number of blocks, the block reward was 50 Bitcoin. And then the next number of blocks, it was 25. And then now it's 12.5 Bitcoin. Right now we're about 76,000 blocks away from another halvening. That's what they call it when the block reward is cut in half. They call it a halvening. So at the next halvening, it'll go down to 6.25 Bitcoin per block. And then it'll go down to 3.125, and then it'll just keep going, cut in half and cut in half and cut in half and cut in half every 4 years over time until it reaches very, very small numbers. So after many, many halvenings, over many, many periods of 4 years, over many blocks, it'll reach a point where the block reward is really, really tiny. So one of the last halvenings is going to be 0.0000002, and then that'll be cut in half and it'll be 1. And then that the next period of the next halvening, that'll just be 0. So you might be wondering, hey, why isn't it 0.5? Shouldn't there be another decimal place? Half of 1 isn't 0. But the thing is, Bitcoin can only store this many decimal places. So when it cuts this 1 down here in half, it has nowhere to put this 5. So that 5 just doesn't exist. It just gets halved into nothing. That's the nature of how the value of Bitcoin is stored. It only has so much space for decimals. So by the time it reaches this last halvening, which is supposed to happen at around 2140, then at this point, when it's reached this last halvening, the amount of Bitcoin that has been mined will be about 21 million. So some of the implications of that is that already most of the Bitcoin has been mined, because after you get a few more halvenings deep, then it's just going to be tiny amounts of Bitcoin. And also, when it gets to this point, it's not actually going to be 21 million for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you add up all of the blocks of all the halfenings, then you get a number that's very close to 21 million, but it isn't actually 21 million. It's 20,999,999. You get the point. And also, there won't be 21 million Bitcoin because there's also a fairly sizable amount of Bitcoin that has been lost. People have lost their private keys, their wallets have gone missing, and the Bitcoin is just now sitting there never to be touched again because they just can't access it because the private keys are gone. So, in summation, it's not better to understand it as there's a cap of 21 million Bitcoin. It's more that over time, fewer and fewer Bitcoin is being mined until it reaches a point where none is being mined. And when it reaches that point, roughly 21 million Bitcoin have been mined. So it's not like there's some function in the protocol of Bitcoin saying if number of Bitcoin greater than 21 million, then break. Like, that's not how it works. It's just there's a certain amount of Bitcoin being made, and eventually there's going to be no more Bitcoin being made. The question that remains is, why was 21 million chosen? Why did Satoshi, our guy, why did he choose to only to have this as a cap? And from what I was able to gather online, the reason why he chose it is he just thought it was a good number. It was divisible enough that there would be enough supply, and it seems to be just how the math worked out. The last question that I had is that, can it be changed? And the answer is yes and no. It's kind of a philosophical question in some ways. Yes, there could be a hard fork to change the way that the block reward is distributed. They could increase it, they could reset it to 50, they could double it. They could do all sorts of things with a hard fork. They just change the protocol, and then if that's the version of the Bitcoin client that everyone installs, then that's the new Bitcoin. A lot of people would actually say that the 21 coin limit is one of the things that is totally essential to Bitcoin, and that if you can create a fork of Bitcoin that has more than 21 million, but that wouldn't be Bitcoin, it'd be a fake Bitcoin. And nobody wants to use a fake Bitcoin, of course. There can only be one Bitcoin, as we all know. So that's pretty much this video. I hope it is enlightening to you. I hope it is understandable. And I hope to have more content on this channel. I know I abandoned it for a while. I was very busy. And I'm still going to be very busy, but I'm going to try to do it anyways. So fingers crossed, wish me luck. Let me know what kind of questions you have about Bitcoin that you would like to see a video about, because that is one of the biggest struggles, is coming up with ideas for videos. And if you can give me ideas, then there's a pretty decent chance that I'll try to do it. Thank you for watching.